Hi, I'm Mike Barone. I am the Director of Youth Ministry for the Deanery of Chippewa Falls, and tonight we are going to talk about roller chair ball, how to play, and how to ref the game. Roller chair ball is a game of fun. Roller chair ball should be fun whether you win or lose. Much of roller chair ball is tongue-in-cheek humor. If you don't have a sense of humor, then please don't come and play roller chair ball. It's very important that you have a fun time while you're here. That's part of youth ministry, and that's part of making the bridge between us. Roller chair ball is basically a Catholic gentleman's sport. Please do not be offended by the term gentleman. It does not necessarily refer to gender. It refers to playing the game well as a gentleman, sportsmanlike, having a good time. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to go through the game tonight one piece at a time, so those of you that have never played before will understand how to play and some of the rules of the game, as well as seeing some of the plays. Those of you that will be reffing, please pay attention to how refs make the moves they make and sign the signals that they sign, so that you'll understand how to ref a game as well. Roller chair ball basically is played on a rolling chair, a chair with wheels on it. Roller chair ball is played with a ball that is made from a small-sized child's t-shirt, tied in a knot, and used to be thrown, kicked, scooped, caught, and brought over the goal line to score. We've mentioned before, roller chair ball is played with a chair that has wheels. It's commonly referred to as a horse. Whenever you hear the term horse, it's referring to the chair, not the rider in the chair. In roller chair ball, the area which can be used to tag down the offense is the back of the chair. Anywhere on the back of the chair, a two-hand simultaneous tagging will down the player, like such, like such, like such, and in cases where there's someone on the chair, like such. A non-simultaneous tag like this is not a down. It has to be simultaneous with two hands somewhere on the back of the chair to down the player. A typical roller chair ball player must be properly outfitted. The player must have elbow pads on both elbows and a helmet, because you can fall over backwards and crack your head very easily. Wearing the proper equipment, it is a very, very safe game. Without it, it's illegal. Another important part of the proper equipment is closed-in shoes. Tennis shoes, boots, what have you, but no sandals and no bare feet, no flip-flops. There has to be protection for the feet. A typical roller chair ball game is played with teams of 2 members. This team opposed to this team. Generally, where possible, we try to have 2 referees involved in the game. It's okay if there's only 1 referee, and in rare circumstances, the players can referee the game themselves. That is the gentlemanlike nature of the sport. What we'll start out with is a coin toss where one of the referees will flip a coin to determine which end of the field the players will be on and whether or not they will receive or kick. We also do something known as giving alms, which is a bribe of sorts to the referees, which is totally legal, that any player on any team can bribe the referees that the game might go better their ways. Any bribe that's monetary, meaning that it's made of money and not goods or services, goes toward the missions, which will be collected by the league commissioner, myself, and sent to the missions in Peru. And in the beginning of the game, after the coin toss has occurred, the two teams are encouraged by the referees to introduce themselves to each other by name and shake hands, as demonstrated now.
Yourselves. Thank you.
Married, the girls are hearty, dancing together in couples and groups, till an accident happened. Young Terence McCarthy put his red leg through Miss Vinity's hoops. The creature, she fainted and cried, "Will you murder?" To call for her brothers and gathered them all. Carmody cried he'd go no further, he'd have satisfaction at Lanigan's ball. In the midst of the row, Miss Kerrigan fainted, her cheeks at the same time as red as the rose. Some of the boys decreed she was painted, she took a small drop, too much I suppose. Her sweetheart Morgan, so powerful and able, when he saw his fair Colleen stretched by the wall, he grabbed the right leg from under the table and smashed all the dishes at Lanigan's ball. 6 long months I spent in Tabalin, 6 long months doing nothing at all. 6 long months I spent in Tabalin, learning to dance for Lanigan's ball. I stepped out.
I stepped in again.
Well, I stepped out again.
I stepped in again.
Well, I stepped out.
Then I stepped in again.
Learning to dance for Lanigan's ball.
The beginning of play for the game requires both teams to go to opposite ends of the floor and to wheel the line. The proper motion for the referees to wheel the line is this, and calling out loud, "Wheel the line! Wheel the line!" The proper position for a team that is lining up to play is known as wheeling the line. Again, the ref will give the call, wheel the line, and this signal, and the players will then line up so that at least 2 wheels are over the line of their end zone. This is an example of a properly wheeled chair or horse. This is an example of an improperly wheeled line. If the play were to start with this setup, the play would not count and would have to be played over, regardless of any scoring that would take place. This also is an example of an improperly wheeled line. Notice that 2 wheels are not over the line. There is one exception to properly wheeling the line, which is the player in motion play. The Gobstoppers will now demonstrate that as one player rockets off the wall, the ball cannot be launched until he is properly wheeled, although he is in motion at the time. You'll notice that player number 2 was over the line properly wheeled when the ball was actually thrown. Roller chair ball games are played between 2 sanctioned teams or 2 non-sanctioned teams, or a sanctioned team and a non-sanctioned team. A team that has been together for 2 games or more can apply for sanctioning through the league. Once you are a sanctioned team and you play another sanctioned team, the games will go to 30 instead of 20. Any non-sanctioned play, meaning between a sanctioned team and a non-sanctioned team, or 2 non-sanctioned teams, goes to 20 instead. To be sanctioned as an individual, you have to be on a sanctioned team. Sanctioning of a team requires filling out the paperwork and passing the written test. You must have a team name. You must have a team nickname. The example would be St. Michael's Vanguard would be the name of the team, and the real Gobstoppers would be the slug line or the nickname of the team. You must have team colors, as in gold and black, or green and white, or whatever you choose. You must have a team emblem, as in the Gobstoppers on their front of their uniforms there. And you must have a team patron saint, which you will choose and use on your application. A team emblem is the best way to be visually identified as you play the game. together and be on a team without being sanctioned. Uniforms don't have to match. For instance, this team does not have matching uniforms. They can be a sanctioned team without matching uniforms if they so choose. On the other hand, this team is a sanctioned team with matching uniforms, which just goes to show their own personal flair. If you would turn around, gentlemen, and show them the back. Uniforms can be as elaborate or as simple as desired, as long as all of the proper equipment is worn. Again, helmet, elbow pads, and closed-end shoes. For the coin toss, the referee will call which team will call it in the air, and then flip the coin.
That team. That's
At this point, the winning team will decide whether they will receive the ball or kick off, and the opposite team will decide which end they will defend first of the two end zones. The plays in this game can either be passes, kicks, as in a kickoff, or carries, as in running with the ball. The object of the game is to carry the ball over your own end zone and score. Very similar to football and many other sports. There are, however, some rules for the plays that you will play. Certain limitations of things you can and cannot do. We will now cover those.
I want to sink in fire emotions.
Cheeking, one of the major calls and penalties in the game of roller chair ball. Cheeking is when a player either leaves the chair intentionally or unintentionally, or in some way lifts the rear end off of the chair's seat. We will now show you the various examples of cheeking.
I want to live with eyes open wide.
This is one of our first examples of cheeking. This is the classic overthrow. We will now demonstrate. Notice that as the player left the chair, the referee called the cheeking call. Please demonstrate the cheeking call again. The play does not stop at this point. The play does not stop at this point. The ball is still live, but the ref signals that there is a cheeking call to be answered after the play is over. A team that cheeks cannot advance on a cheeking. This is another example of cheeking, with the player literally falling out of the chair. Notice that when Pat went for the ball, he left the chair. Even though he does have the ball now, he has cheeked, which means his team cannot advance in any way, which means the ball will now be returned to the offense. Should any scoring take place with a team that's cheeked, the score will not count.
I don't know if I please you.
This is an example of a forced cheeking. A forced cheeking is a very bad call, which requires two cheeking calls against the offending party. Notice the offense has the ball, and now the defense will cause the offense to cheek. This is known as a forced cheeking. It is a two cheeking call against the defense.
I'm willing to try.
This is the beginning setup for a kickoff. Notice that the team is properly wheeled, and there are two referees on either end of the field watching the play. We will now have a kickoff. Wheel line. Good. We'll now see one of the plays where the ball will be snapped and the player will carry the ball and then be down. Notice the two-hand tap simultaneously on the back of the chair stopped the play and the ball was down. The play began when the player on the offense said either go, hike, hut, or some other word that was agreed upon to show the play had begun. This is an example example of ramming the horses. When this happens, the referee should call, control your horse. The idea is that the game is a game for gentlemen, and we don't need specific overuse of force. Another example of ramming and slamming would be that of ramming into a player. The game is not bumper chairs, it's roller chair ball. This is an example of ramming and slamming against a player. The contact between players on the offense and the defense should be minimal. This is a game of skill, not a game of brute force. The field for roller chair ball is made up of two different types of end zones. The long and thin end zone, which covers from one side of the field to the other, is thin and is long. The opposite end zone is not the full length of the field. The opposite end zone is a smaller, thinner corridor to one side of the opposite end of the field. This area here is the end zone for this team coming this way. There is a small rectangular area, which I am marking with my body, here to that wall. Across this line here, and again from here to that wall. This area here is the end zone for this end of the field. If I were to walk over here, I am outside of that end zone and I am out of bounds. A player over in this area cannot score. If they have the ball, they will be considered out of bounds